I visited the village on a sunny Saturday morning in June, departing from Shanshui Station with around only half of the passenger in the 51K minibus at 10 o'clock. After passing through the Shanshui local market, the new town construction site, and the luxury golf-oriented residential community, about 20 minutes, I arrived at the village gateway, being welcomed by the messy shop on the left and the parking lot with some construction on the right. Getting off the bus, I first visited Hong Ku-shik Ancestor Hall right in front of me, which now has been listed as a declared monument to be protected under the local policy. And then I visited the playground, the community center, which now has been refurbished into a restaurant, and two temples, which were close to the gateway that I just passed. On the way walking to the temples, I noticed the spaces on my left were turned into a parking lot that had been full of vans, bizarre cottage, a dirty refuse collection point, and some water ponds. Plus, being disturbed by come-and-go vehicle and suffering from the heat without any shade, this was now a very good walking experience. One of the temples was called Pai Feng Temple, and the other one was Hongxing Temple. On the 13th of the second lunar year every year, the village will organize celebration with events to remember Hongxing, the god of the water, including god-worshipping plays, the Panchong Feast, opera plays, lion and dragon dance, and the flora tribute scrambling. Leaving the temples, I went deeper into the village, and surprisingly, I found out there were so many variety inside. Some houses has a bunch of vacant spaces in the front, and they have been turned into a small garden, all just being left empty. Some houses were located very close to each other, and their distance between varied greatly. Some were wide enough for passing through and even stopping by for chatting. Some were so narrow that could not even fit two people. Some lanes were paved with bricks, some stayed in concrete with some drainage system. Some houses were adjacent to the old historic house, which now has been abandoned for years with low housing condition and wildly growing shrubs. After taking around the village and returned to the bus station, I realized so far I have not seen any villagers. I can't help wondering, where was everybody in such a lovely day in the weekend? Then I find some were hiding inside. There were a few people having their lunch in the restaurant, which were formerly used for community center, and some elders were playing mahjong in one and the only convenience store in the village. The longer I stayed outside, the more I realized why people were not willing to go out to enjoy the break, because of the heat and the annoying mosquitoes. After lunchtime, I noticed there were more people appearing in the bus station. Some were elders, some were family with children or young couples. Because of the limited shade on the top of the station, people who came late had to wait outside under the burning sun at 1 p.m. At the same time, the playground was finally having some voices here. Several children were playing basketball, but now in a very enjoyable environment, and the convenience store was having more people to visit. Some villagers were cycling toward the riverside. On the way to the riverside, I noticed a village office, a public toilet, and some snack restaurant called Delicious Tofu Garden, where some cyclists was resting and chatting here. After about 10 minutes, when I was heading back to the station, the children in the playground were about to go home. As the bus just left, which meant I might need to wait for another 20 minutes, I decided to take some time observing this station. On the station board, there were many advertisements, including maintenance, job hunting, and even a few village announcements. Villagers were hanging their clothes outside, and some men were working nearby. A while later, almost everyone around me or passing by were attracted by those workers who were cutting the tree. I went back to the Shangshui station to recover from the high temperature and itching from the mosquito outside. I felt home by the aircon in the mall, the vibrancy in the local market, the views in the park, and the convenience for entertainment need and the basic human need as well. When I went back to the village around 5 p.m., which was supposed to be the golden hour during the sunset in a day, that children, elders, families would come out to enjoy. It was a shame that in the village still stayed quiet as I left. There was nobody appearing in the playground, the ancestral hall, the restaurant, or the former community center. Even cats seemed more alive than the villagers. This quietness remained till the sun was gone. After dinner time, a few villagers were spotted heading to the riverside. When I was approaching to the river, I find out most of the area were under construction, except for the cycle lane. Some people were sitting and chatting on the bridge. Around 8 p.m., I came back to the station, wait for the minibus to leave. During the day spent in the Hongshangheng village, I feel like this place had the magic that disappearing people after they got off the bus. Anyway, after waiting for a while, I got on the bus and said goodbye to this quiet and mystery village. The following section will combine multi-scale and dimension in the framework with site analysis to discuss the issue need to be considered into the following regeneration practice. According to the multi-layer of scales in the framework, line will represent the spaces between the village houses, which might include the lanes with different wides and paving, or the semi-private open spaces in front of the houses, while service refers to the public open spaces in the village, such as playground, the area in front of the ancestral hall, or the vacant land now has been inappropriately used for parking. Boundary represents the links between the Hongshangheng village and the surrounding areas, including woodland, river, farmland, and other villages. In line service boundary, the village has different type of issues. For example, it is hard to spot any villager appearing in line, even in a lovely sunny day at the weekend, and it is easy to find some issues such as flooding, lack of greenery, messy shops, derelict houses, or the underutilizations of open spaces. In service, most of the open spaces in the village are empty, let alone to find any of social activities. It is noticed that the most frequently used spaces in a day is the bus station area in front of the ancestral hall, where people often visit to take the only public transport to leave the village. But due to the unsatisfying condition of the existing station, people who waiting for the bus have to suffer from heat, sunshine, the mosquito bite, insufficient sitting areas, and boring view. Apart from the station, the daily social activity in service are very limited. Only some children can be spotted after lunchtime, playing basketball in the playground without any shade, but often being interrupted by the passing vehicles. As for boundary, there is no access to the adjacent beautiful woodland. The riverside is currently under construction, with insufficient city areas, no any pedestrian or entertainment facilities. Therefore, facing with those issues in multi-scale and dimension, it has shown a strong desire to be regenerate in the later design